Bob Ferguson, of course, is obsessed with Donald Trump. Absolutely obsessed. I don't know if there's a human being on the planet who's more obsessed with Donald Trump, but he uses Donald Trump. So there's a difference here with Bob Ferguson. I don't believe that Bob Ferguson goes home at night and rocks himself to sleep thinking about Donald Trump and is ruining his life and totally TDS, utterly obsessed, like he can't find happiness. That's my Bob Ferguson rocking himself to sleep. I don't think that's him. Bob's more strategic than that. And he uses other people's TDS against them. And he uses other people's TDS to further his political career. As I've said many times, doing that got him to the governor's office. So why would he stop doing it? He's going to continue to do it. He did it last week. We called him out for having a press conference talking about how bad the tariffs are for Washington businesses and families and how it's going to cost them $2 billion this year. Well, he just passed $9.5 billion in new taxes, the bulk of those which are going to hit Washington businesses in a matter of weeks. So he uses it to distract from his own personal failures on a variety of things, crime, homelessness, you name it. But this is digging deep, quite literally, actually. This is digging deep, and it's gone quite a ways back in time. So this takes a lot of explaining. I'm going to do the best that I can. It has to do with the Hanford nuclear site in Washington state. So Bob Ferguson had a press conference. Here's what he put out. He said, I went to the Tri-Cities on Friday to send a clear message to the Trump administration. Do your job at Hanford. If the federal government does not live up to its obligations, we will take legal action. Zero chance we're backing down on this, and zero chance we lose. Okay. So that sounds, ominous. Like, whoa. Is the federal government not going to clean up Hanford? What's going on over there? What does he have to say? And then United States Senator Patty Murray of our state put out a very similar damning statement. She said, I have absolutely no intention of allowing the Trump administration to upend nuclear waste cleanup at Hanford. We're so close to turning nuclear waste into glass at Hanford, with the waste treatment plant literally slated for hot commissioning next month. I will not stand by and let the Trump administration kneecap the Hanford cleanup mission and violate the legally binding holistic agreement because they are ignorant and corrupt. So it's like, oh my God, wait, is the Trump administration a month away from finally, after all these years, cleaning up Hanford? What, are they going to not do it? What's going on here? So we have to get some history. We'll go to the Washington State Standard for this. I thought they had a good article explaining the history of all of this, if you're not familiar. As feds talk of changing course on Hanford nuclear cleanup, Washington officials get heated. So here's some history. The U.S. government set up Hanford in 1943 to create plutonium for the nation's atomic bombs, including those exploded in New Mexico and over Nagasaki in 1945. That development work created many billions of gallons of chemical and radioactive wastes, the worst 56 million gallons of which were pumped into 177 underground tanks. About a third of those tanks leak. At least 1 million gallons of radioactive liquid have leaked into the ground, seeping into the aquifer 200 feet below and then into the Columbia River, roughly 7 miles away. So that's bad. Everyone agrees, like, okay, we can't let that happen. No one's disagreeing that this is what happened and this is a bad thing and we've got to clean it up. The tanks are considered the worst radiological contamination problem in the Western Hemisphere. Bad stuff, bad stuff. So Hanford's current legal target calls for glassifying all these wastes by 2052. So that was their solution. We're going to turn this all into glass. That's what we're going to do, right? The Department of Energy has internally moved those targets back to 2069. So they're supposed to start doing this. It's been going on for a long time. Their current target is full glassification of all the waste by 2069. So the state standard goes on to say Hanford has been looking at glassifying its tank wastes since the 1990s. So this is very important. Donald Trump wasn't even necessarily thinking about becoming president, although around that time I think he did that Oprah interview where she asked, "Do you want to be president?" And he said no. But Hanford has been looking at glassifying its tank waste since the 1990s. It began construction on the facility to be able to do that in 2002, with the first gasification plant legally scheduled to go online in 2009. However, it's currently 16 years behind. This first plant is supposed to take care of 40 to 50% of the tank's low activity waste. Before I keep reading, let me just make sure everybody understands. So they started talking in the 1990s. Let's just glassify this waste. They began construction on a gasification plant in 2002. It was supposed to be online by 2009, but it's been delayed, and it's currently 16 years behind schedule. The master plan has been to build 2 low-activity gasification plants, plus a third to handle the site's 5 million to 6 million gallons of high-level radioactive tank waste. The entire project's original budget in 2002, again, long before Donald Trump was president, was $4 billion. This has grown to roughly $30 billion. So just so we're all caught up here, they start talking about glassifying the nuclear waste in the 1990s. In 2002, long before Orange Man Bad, they come up with a plan and they start building the glassification facility. And they have an original budget for it of $4 billion for the entire project, the entire thing, glassifying all the waste. Well, from 2002 on, things have been a disaster. Mismanaged, delays, overruns since 2002 and onward, through presidents of both political parties. George Bush, Obama, Biden, yes, Trump. I was trying to think because it's Trump, Biden, Trump. Yes, Trump too. It has been delayed. It is way over budget. It's a disaster. And now all of a sudden, we're supposed to be getting close to starting this glassification, and Bob Ferguson's in the Tri-Cities, and Senator Patty Murray is out there saying that the Trump administration is going to put a stop to it all. Except that's not what the Trump administration is doing at all. So Trump fired the official who was overseeing Hanford cleanup. His name is Roger Jarrell. So that left Chris Wright, the head of the Department of Energy, the Secretary of the Department of Energy, in charge of everything. And you know what? Chris Wright was like, hey, this has been going really poorly for a long time. So we just want to do a review of the project and the plan and where the budget's at. And that's it. So this is the statement put out after all this hand-wringing from the U.S. Department of Energy's Chris Wright on their continued commitment to environmental cleanup efforts. The U.S. Department of Energy today released the following statement from Secretary Chris Wright in response to recent inaccurate news reports. Contrary to news reports, the Department of Energy has made no changes to its long-standing commitment to the environmental cleanup of the Hanford site. DOE is continuing to examine testing and operations at the site to ensure waste disposal options are safe, cost-effective, and environmentally sound. Across the entire department, we are actively working to improve the safety and efficacy of the important work we do each and every day. So you have this situation that's been an utter boondoggle. Unfortunately, it's a situation that you can't just say, we give up. Can't do that. We've got nuclear waste seeping into the ground, seeping into the Columbia River. It's not an option. It's not like the train to nowhere in California where it's like, well, we could finish it or not finish it. This has to be finished, right? But the reality is, over a long period of time, it hasn't been going on time or on budget. It's been a disaster under many presidents, many energy secretaries, etc. And so Trump fires the guy who'd been in charge of it. Now that responsibility falls on Chris Wright, and Chris Wright rightfully wants to examine it very closely. Don't you think if you're $26 billion over budget, 16 years behind schedule, wouldn't anyone want anyone in the government to come in and look at what's going wrong? And that's all Chris Wright is doing. That's literally all he's doing, is to say, hey, this has been such a boondoggle. We want to do a full review, make sure everything's been being done right, everything's being done safely and effectively. And because of that, Bob Ferguson, who has to find a way to distract and blame Donald Trump for everything, rushes over to the Tri-Cities to have a press conference and say Donald Trump is going to stop the cleanup at the Hanford nuclear site. And Senator Patty Murray, a good soldier, follows him over there and puts out these hand-wringing statements about it. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't know if they just had to find a way to distract from all the bad news about Democrats this week and how things are going for them and just, find something, one more thing to blame on Donald Trump. But it's nuts. We should all be pissed off about how the Hanford nuclear site cleanup has been going. We should all be angry about how much it's costing. We should all be angry that it's taking so long. And so the Secretary of the Department of Energy wants to figure out why. He wants to take a closer look at it. We should all say, yes, please do that. We still got to clean it up. So do it quickly. But yes, please put it under a microscope because we deserve some answers.